Okay, so for today's recipe, we're going to be making something called Cowboy Caviar that is kind of like a mix between a dip and a salad, I guess you could say. It's very vegetable heavy.
Hi guys, how you doing? Hey Sophia.
Hi, Enrique, how are you? So yeah, it's kind of like a mix between a dip and a salad, I guess, because you could use chips to dip in it, or you could just right with a fork or a spoon. The good thing about today is that we do not have to cook anything. I know the weather's starting to heat up, so it'll stay nice and cool, but we do have a good amount of chopping to do. So that can be a little bit labor intensive, but that's okay. Well, I'm gonna take you guys through everything, and we'll be okay. So everything's gonna be cold, which is nice. Let me pull up the recipe so I can work on the first thing. And then pretty much in terms of supplies, I have my large mixing bowl with me already because everything's going into this bowl. That's the one of the other great things about it. There's not really much. We don't need too many other bowls. We'll mix our dressing in a separate little container and then pour it in, but everything's going in the same place. And then we have our cutting board, and let me just grab a knife. Okay, so the first thing we will start to cut, we'll do the recipe says our tomatoes, so we'll do our tomatoes first. So I have Roma tomatoes here. They're kind of the ones that look like oval, like this. And the other nice part about this recipe is that everything is kind of estimated. I mean, there are exact amounts on there, but if you like a lot of something, you can do more of something, less of something else. It's not super measurement heavy, which is really nice. So it's a lot easier to make. Okay, so for in terms of before we get started with cutting, we kind of want everything that we cut to be around the same size. You can make them smaller, you can make it bigger. We just want everything to kind of be around the same size so that way when you're eating it, when you get in each bite and each mouthful, you got a little bit of everything in there. So we'll start with our tomatoes. So I took out 3. I'm just gonna cut off the end quickly. The other end's fine. Okay, so we want to dice or finely dice, depending on what size you want everything. So for the tomato first, what I'm gonna do is cut it down the middle. Because then in order for this to not be super watery, we're gonna want to scoop out the inside of the tomato just so that because gets a little liquidy. So I'm just gonna take a spoon and just kind of scoop all the part with the seeds. Just get that out. It's a little bit attached, so you might need to use a little oomph to get it out there, but it'll come out. So then now you just have the hollow center of the tomato. So I'm gonna do that with my other half too. And actually, I'm gonna do that too. All 3 tomatoes just to get that out of the way, and then we can wipe off the cutting board. We're just cutting off the ends of our tomatoes and scooping that middle out. For anyone who has just hopped on, we are only on our first vegetable. We sliced our tomatoes in half and we're just scooping out that wet part in the middle so that it doesn't make our mixture soggy. Just gonna set these to the side quick. And then just discard that tomato center and clean off the cut and just dry off. All right. So once you have all your tomatoes like that with the middle hollowed out, just give me a thumbs up and we will get onto our slicing and dicing. All right, does anyone need any more time to get the middle of their tomatoes out, or are we all good?
We are all good.
Okay, looks like everyone's all set. Perfect. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of make little strips. So be careful of your fingers as always. Just gonna go down and make little strips out of that tomato. And the other nice thing about this recipe is everything's pretty much gonna be cut the same. So we're kind of just really gonna be practicing the same cutting technique on a couple different vegetables. It's a little big. Okay, so we got our strips. Once we have our strips, we're gonna put those all into a little pile and turn them around, and then we're just gonna go across and dice. And just make small little squares. Just like that. So we're just gonna do this with the rest of our tomato halves. And then I have this bowl right here. Everything that you chop, you're gonna put right in that bowl. So again, I'm gonna start making some slices. Take those slices, turn them around, put them in a nice little pile, and then just go right across. Then those go in the bowl. So by the end of this, we should be pretty good at dicing because we are going to do some peppers after this and some avocado. And as you're slicing, you can kind of see how if we did leave the middle of that tomato in, we might be in the middle of a bit of a little messy situation just because we'd have a lot of liquid everywhere. And it might make it a little bit hard to get these pieces that we're getting. So that's why we took that out, just to make everything a little bit easier for ourselves. I know the recipe, it said 3 to 4 tomatoes. I did 3 because one of them was a little bit bigger. But like I said, this has been very much relaxed, easy flow recipe. So you could just do whatever works best for you or whatever you like. More of whatever, less of whatever. All right, so I'm on my last half now. Let me just dice this up. And with dicing, we're always using our rocking motion with the knife. Right. I am just gonna wipe this cutting board off one more time. It's a little wet. And once you guys have all your tomatoes set, another thumbs up and we will move on to our peppers. So I have like this much. I could do one more if I wanted to, but that's okay. How's everyone doing? I see, okay, I still see some chopping, so we'll give another minute or so. Another good part about this too is everything that we're using is completely edible uncut. So if you want a little snack, you can always snack on whatever you chop. Right. I see we have mostly thumbs up. Is everyone good or does anyone need any more time?
I think we are good now.
Perfect. Okay, so next we're gonna move on to our bell peppers. So we have one yellow and one orange. You could really do whatever color you wanted. I like these ones the best personally, so that's why I chose them. I'm just taking the stickers off. And so eventually we're gonna get to our slices and our dices, but first we want to get some of the other stuff off. So we're gonna lay our pepper down. We're gonna get that top off. And then we're also gonna cut the bottom off. But these are perfectly good, so I'm gonna show you how we don't have to waste those afterwards. So now we have our pepper, but we still got all this stuff in the middle. So my favorite way to do this so that to maintain minimal waste, I'm gonna put it stand up on its bottom because now we have a flat surface. And where there's a hole, because see how there's some holes, I'm gonna make a cut down. So that's done. We have that one vertical cut. So this is open here. We're gonna lay it now on its side and very carefully, I'm gonna put the knife into where that vertical cut is and just start cutting around the pepper to get that middle part out. So now it's gonna start opening flat. And as I get to each part, I'm cutting all this white part with the seeds connected out because that stuff we don't wanna eat. And now we just have our whole pepper laid out. If that is a little too tricky because it can be a little bit complicated since we're working with a round object. You can always just cut down the middle and scoop all the stuff out. We can practice it again with our yellow pepper. So now we have our basically just our big pepper open. But that's really easy to work with. Because now, I'm just trying to clean all the seeds off. Now we can just make some 3 different pieces. And we have a perfect vessel to get our slices. And we know once we have our slices, then we can do our dices and we're good. And we pretty much I like that method because you get out all the, like this kind of white, or at least most of this white stuff that you would cut out anyway, without getting rid of a lot of the good parts of the pepper. So now again, we have our slices, we put them in our pile and we dice across. And if sometimes the pile becomes a little too big to work with, so you can always separate it just to make it easier. I'm gonna just do that with your 3 pieces and then we will, I'll show you how to do the top and the bottom. It's pretty much similar, but it's just a little bit of a different shape. We'll get through these first.
Sophia, do we put the bell peppers in the bowl?
Yes, the pepper is gonna go right in that bowl with the tomato. Last little third of my orange pepper. You guys are gonna be dicing champions after this. Okay, so once we get to that top and bottom, we're pretty much doing the same thing. It's just a little bit of a wonky shape because we have a lot of bumps, but that's totally fine. And then here with this piece, we have a big hole in the middle. So with the top, oh wait, let me just let this person in. With the top, I like to just kind of cut these 4 pieces apart from where they clearly separate a little bit. So we have that. And then I just kind
Hey,
of
Sophia, one quick question. We're gonna also cut down the red pepper as well, right?
Yes, we have two. I have an orange
Alright,
and a
thank you.
yellow, but if you have a red, then yeah, you're gonna cut that one also. We're gonna do that next. So this one, we're just gonna go. Again, just make your slices across. When you get to that wonky part, it might separate a little bit, but that's okay. And then we just take those slices again and just dice them. Just like that. Super easy. But if you feel like you already have enough pepper or you just don't want to do more, this could also always be a good snack. Like I said, always nice to snack while you cook. These might not come out as nice as our normal squares, but that's okay. And then for the bottom, that's all connected, but we still have our 4 little bumps. Same thing. We're just going to go across in slices. And then just take those slices and dice them. That is the motto of today's class. We are slicing and dicing. Pull it there for my orange pepper. I have a little bit. Actually, I have 2 slices left. I'll do that. Those escaped up there. Okay, so once everyone has their first pepper done, just give me another thumbs up. Okay, I see a bunch already. I just want to go over the beginning part of the cut too. Again, that's why I wanted to just wait to do it all together. Okay, I think it looks like everyone's pretty good. So again, we're gonna take our pepper. Cutting off the top. I'm gonna turn around, cut off the bottom. Set those aside. And then we have our openings. We're gonna slice down one of those openings, just like that. We're gonna lay it or we're gonna lay it on its side again, and we're gonna carefully put the knife into that cut we just made and start going around the edge of the pepper to get off all the insides. Take that. And then now we have our nice long piece of pepper that we'll cut up into 3, 4, however many. And then we have our perfect vessel to slice and dice. So we're just gonna do that again. And again, if you have different colored peppers, that's totally fine. Anything goes when it comes to this recipe. This also lasts really well in the fridge. A batch this size usually takes a little, I mean, there's only 2 people in my house, so takes us a little bit longer, but it lasts really well for about a week. And sometimes we finish it earlier than that, but take care of the top and bottom of the pepper. And I know for at least for my first pepper, the stem came out for my orange one and not for my yellow one. So if you're using the top and the stem stays in like this, you can easily just pluck it out. And it'll come out very easily. This is also a really good way to get a lot of veggies in because it really is fully veggie packed. So it's going to have a lot of fiber, a lot of different colors of vegetables, which is really great. And since it's so customizable, you could swap for any other veggies you may like. Get my bottom done. Let's go. Perfect. All right, I'm just gonna get rid of the inside and wipe it down once more. All right, how is everyone doing? Is anyone still chopping their peppers? I see a lot of stuff.
I'm all finished with the peppers, but I do not have any cilantro for today.
That's okay. No worries at all. It looks like William and Karina are still cutting a little bit, so I'm going to do just another minute. All right. Looks like everyone's all set. Okay. Is anyone here not using a jalapeno? Can you give me a thumbs up if you are not using a jalapeno? Okay, so you guys don't have one, right? Okay. So if you do, I'm going to go over it really quickly. This is very similar to what we just did. So the shape of jalapeno is a little bit different, but again, we're just cutting off our top. We're slicing down the middle. And then I'm going to get a spoon again. And this is where all of the spiciness is. So if you really, really like spicy, you could leave this in. But the seeds and all of the white part of the jalapeno is where you've got all the spice. So that's why a lot of recipes have you remove it. So that way you can still get some jalapeno flavor without it being super, super spicy. But if you like spice, by all means, you can leave it in, or you can leave it in half. So we're just gonna scoop that out quick. And then from there, we have the same thing that we had with our other peppers. So we just go across and slice. So again, all those same motions, and then we bring those slices together and dice. Do that again with our other half. So that's also. Get all this out of the way again. Good. After you cut your jalapeno, just make sure you wash your hands, because then if you go and touch your face or touch something, it's gonna burn really bad. I once cut a jalapeno and then I had something in my eye, so I rubbed my eye. And that was not fun. That hurt a little bit. So if you ever cut a jalapeno or any other hot pepper, just make sure you give your hands a quick wash after you get the juices off. Okay, and then once my jalapeno people are ready, just give me a thumbs up. We'll go on to our next step.
Hi, we came in a little late. When we scooped out the tomato, does that go in the same bowl also?
No, so when we scooped out the tomato, we just discarded that. So then that way all that moisture doesn't make our salad super soggy. So we had just thrown that out. All right, are my jalapeno people good? Okay, awesome. All right, now we're gonna move on to the avocado. This one's probably one of our trickiest ones. So we're gonna take this nice and slow. So the first thing we have to do is cut our avocado in half. We're gonna be really, really careful about this because they can get a little slippery sometimes on the inside. So you're gonna hold your hand on top of your avocado that's on your cutting board. You're gonna take your knife and you're gonna find the middle and you're gonna slice in towards the middle, and then you're not gonna be able to go further. That's the pit. So once our knife is at our pit, we're gonna carefully rotate our avocado around. Oop, forgot my sticker. The whole thing until we get back to the center or where we started. So we have a slice now. I don't know if you can really see it, but we have a slice around our whole avocado. So once you have that slice around the entire avocado, you'll grab both sides, push in a little and twist. So now we have our two halves separate like this. Once we do that, we have to get the pit out. There are a couple ways you can get the pit out. You can use a spoon and scoop it out. If it's kind of ripe, you can also just kind of push it out sometimes. This one's ripe, but it's not super ripe. Sometimes it could just like fall out. Another way you can use your knife to get it out as well, but we have to be really careful when we do this. So we leave the avocado on the cutting board so that our hands are out of the way. And you take your knife, you're gonna put it against the pit and you can slightly tap it. And it's gonna see, if you pick it up, the knife is now inside the pit. So then we carefully grab the avocado and twist, and the pit comes right out. And then if you just put it on your cutting board, it should fall off. So that's one way. Like I said, you could also scoop it out. You could kind of push it out. But you just want to make sure if you're using the knife that you do it very, very carefully. So now that we have our two halves, we could scoop it out for this particular salad, because of the way that we want the avocado, I like to just peel it. So I don't lose anything and it gives me a cleaner surface on the outside. Because normally when we eat an avocado, we kind of just scoop it out. But as long as you've got a good ripeness, it's pretty easy to peel. And I like how now that if I kind of take my hand and put it against the top, it's not like super messy the way it might be if we're just scooping it out, because we're kind of getting that most outer layer possible. So whatever works for you, you can peel it like I am, or if it's just easier for you to scoop it out, go for it. Okay, so now we have the two halves like that. And here we want to be extra careful too with the cuts that we're going to do. Again, we're trying to get to the same thing. We want to get our slices and our dices. But since we have a pretty thick avocado, we have to get to the point where we can do that. So the same way that we kind of held our knife to get into the pit, we're going to have our hand on top of our avocado and kind of towards the bottom, we're going to go across. And since avocados are soft, you don't really need to use much pressure. So we're kind of just we're making a slice across. Put that back. So I have one, I kind of made that a third of the way, and then we're going to do one more, another third of the way. So I'm putting it in a little higher and just carefully slicing across, just like that. So now I have 3 flat layers of avocado. Now I'm going to turn it. And this is where we're going to make our slices. So we just go down, just going to kind of make sure, and because of the way that the avocado is, it can stick to the knife sometimes. So I'm just using my thumb to carefully make sure that it stays on the cutting board after I lift it. So those are our slices. So now we've got sticks, just like we had with the peppers. I'm going to turn it back. And then we're going to get our dices. So now see, you have all those little squares. And just go across. Sometimes they'll stick. That's all right. Perfect. So now I'll just show you one more time with the other half. So we have our half. We're going to hold our knife sideways about a third of the way and just go across. Sometimes at the end it gets a little stuck. There we go. Put that back down. Again, a little bit higher. Across. So we have our 3 flat slices. We're going to turn it and make our strips. Turn it back. And make our dices. Does anyone have any questions about that? Okay. I know the recipe said 2 avocados, but my one actually did a pretty good job. You can see. I got a good amount in there because we make everything so small. So I think I'm going to stick with just that for now. And then that way we're good on time as well. So I'm just cleaning again, just keeping my cutting board clean. Like I said, the avocado can get a little slippery sometimes. So good to have a dry surface. Okay, so once everyone is all set with your avocados, give me another thumbs up. Take your time. I know that one was a little trickier than the peppers and everything. How was everyone doing? Does anyone need any more time? Are we all good?
I need
All right, looks
I
like-
need a little bit more time.
Okay, sure. Well, take your time. Just let me know when you're all ready.
Okay, I'm ready.
Perfect. Okay, so next we're gonna work on getting some cilantro chopped up.
I don't have any cilantro.
That's okay.
Okay.
If you have any other herb, you could put that in there, or if not, you can just hang out for a sec and this one's pretty quick. So usually when we use some kind of herbs like cilantro or parsley or anything like that, I like to kind of find where this one's a little tricky actually. So normally I like to find a big bunch and just like twist the leaves off. but I'm just gonna pull some off pretty quick because we just need like a handful of leaves. So if you kind of just like grab the leaves, they kind of like come like right off the stem for the most part. Just
Yeah.
sliding them
We
right.
have some dried cilantro. How much will we put in?
I would say start with a tablespoon, and then once you taste it, if you think you need a little more, you could put a little more in. Also, I know sometimes, I know cilantro can be a heated herb. Some people really don't like it and really hate the taste of it. So obviously, if you are that person, very easy to omit. Or you could try parsley, you could try scallions, you could do whatever, but this definitely does not need the cilantro if you don't like it. Okay. It's kind of a hefty handful, but I personally do love cilantro. So a little extra for me is definitely not a bad thing. So now that we have our leaves just kind of in a pile on the board, kind of just like to bunch them up. And then you really just start going back and forth. And every time just kind of bring your pile back together. I like to use my left hand to kind of guide my knife and keep it on top. And you just go back and forth. Again, making sure you bring everything together. And I like to try and use the back of my knife to do most of the cuts here because that part is a little bit better at just cutting straight down like this versus when you use the center or the end, you have to like slice through like we've done. So this is pretty good at just like breaking it down easy. All right, I think that's a pretty good size. Doesn't have to be super finely chopped. Just putting that right in the bowl as well. And I am going to actually rinse my cutting board off quick just to get all the remainder of the cilantro off there. So that's all dried. Once everyone has their cilantro in the bowl, give me another thumbs up. We'll go on to the next step. And that was the last thing that we had to really chop. So you guys did great. I know that was a lot, but you were definitely champions of the slice and dice now, that's for sure.
Sophia, one quick question. Are we gonna do the onions?
I
Are
don't
we
think
gonna do the onions?
we had any onions in here.
Like I have the red onion.
You can absolutely put a red onion in there, but I think from the recipe I sent, I don't think there's one on there.
Oh, it's okay. Thank you.
But if you want to put it in there, you definitely can. That would go really well. And I see, well, you just said you don't have tortilla chips. That's also okay. Equally good to eat with a spoon. Or if you have crackers or anything like that.
All right.
Okay, so I think everyone's good. So now we're just gonna take a can of black beans. This is very simple. We're just gonna drain and rinse them and then pour them in. So I'm just using my can opener. And then I have a colander here in my sink. Just gonna drain them right in the colander. Sometimes they're a little stuck in there. There we go. And if you see, there's like a black colored liquid that comes out with it too. So we're just gonna rinse that off. So once that runs clear, you know, those are good. Gonna try and shake out as much water as possible. For now, since we have a few other things to do, I'm just gonna take a paper towel and just kind of stick that around them just to help them dry a little bit so that I don't want them to be too wet when we add them, and I'll just let them hang out there for a little bit while we finish up with everything else.
Did you say we want to use the paper towel to turn it off to wash it off, right?
Right, so we just rinsed them, so then I just put the paper towel on top to help absorb some of that extra water so they can get dry.
All right, got it.
So once everyone has their beans drying, just give me a thumbs up. We are almost there, guys. Perfect, everyone's ready. Okay, so next we're gonna add in our corn. And it does say to measure 1.5 cups, but in the spirit of us not really having to measure things, we could just guess. Or we just do have, if you want to measure, by all means, please do. But just to make it a little bit easier for everyone, you could just kind of eyeball it. That's one of my favorite parts about this, is that it's just, you don't really have to think as much about everything. I just had my corn
Our
sitting.
corn is still frozen. Is that okay?
What was that?
The corn's frozen.
Yeah, just let it sit out for a little bit longer.
Okay.
Or, I mean, if you're not eating this right away, you could just put it in there and it'll thaw as it mixes with everything else. I only had mine out on the counter since we started, so mine might still be a little bit frozen too. But that's all right. So I'm just gonna cut off a corner. And I'm just gonna, that looks good. After we mix it, maybe I'll add a little bit more. As long as I feel like, at least with this, for me, with eating it, as long as I feel like there's equal.
We gotta put the corn in there, right?
Yes. As long as there's equal ingredients or equal amounts of everything for the most part, that's what I like about it. So again, just to make everything a little bit easier for us, we can always eyeball things, which is nice. And that also means I might not end up adding in the entire can of beans. And I could use the leftovers for something else. Just depends on what it looks like. But like I said, if you really like to measure things and you want to follow the recipe as written, by all means, please do that. I think the first few times I made this, I ended up doing that, and then I realized I was like, oh, kind of easy to do it without too. So once you got your corn in, give me another thumbs up, and then we can work on our dressing. Oh no, we have one more thing to add.
We have canned corn. Is that okay?
Yes, totally fine. Just drain it. Looks like everyone's good. So the next thing we have is our tortilla cheese. I just got a grated bag. This time they sell them in like blocks, I think too, that you can crumble as well, but it's always just easier to have it grated. Kind of like, it's very similar to Parmesan. So I don't know if they make, if you can't have dairy, I don't know if they make dairy-free tortilla cheese, but they definitely have dairy-free Parmesan. So that's a really good substitute here.
We got this one.
That
And
looks
then we got
good.
this one.
Yeah, perfect. I'm gonna say the same thing that I said about the corn. It says to measure a cup. Do we have to? We can just eyeball it also. But if you want to measure a cup, by all means, feel free. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm just gonna put some in there. And then see how that looks after we mixed it. And it's great too, because you can mix it, try it, see what you think, and add a little bit more things. And in terms of eyeballing things, I will say, if it's something you're not used to, but you want to try, it's always better to start out with less. Because you can always add, but you can't take away. So if you're ever kind of unsure, you're like, oh, I don't know, what if I do too much? You always start with less, then like I said, you can
We're
mix.
gonna start mixing, right?
Not yet. Almost. We have to make our dressing first. So always start with less, you can always add more. So that's a good way to go about that too, if it's something that you're not as familiar with or haven't done a lot. So once you have that, all the cheese in there, one more thumbs up and we can get working on our dressing. And this I took out a liquid measuring cup because it is something I'm going to half measure, I guess. Looks like we're all good. So the first thing we want is a 1/4 cup of olive oil. So in the liquid measuring cup, I'm just going to do that first. Pour that in there. Easy peasy.
How many for measuring cup?
What was that, Enrique?
How many for measuring cup?
You want a 1/4 cup of olive oil. Everyone have their olive oil measured? Okay, so that's the big thing that I usually measure. From here is where I start to say, all right, let's see how it tastes. And you can kind of see that in the recipe because it will say you want the juice of 1 to 2 limes. So depending on if you like things really, really limey or less limey, or just how each lime is a little bit different with the flavor of it. So we're going to start with 1 and we can go from there. So we want to get the juice out of 1 lime. I think I've told you guys about this before, but whenever I juice, whether it's a lime, a lemon, an orange, I like to roll it on my cutting board
For
first.
me, I got lime juice.
Oh, that's perfect. So then for that, Enrique, I would say maybe start with like a tablespoon, taste it, and go from there. So I'm just rolling it on my cutting board with some pressure. That helps to kind of release the juices a little bit. And then I'm just going to cut it in half. You can squeeze it with your hands. I do have a juicer, so I'm just going to use that because it does a really good job of getting every last drop out. I'm just going to squeeze it right into the olive oil. I'm going to do the same thing with the other half. All right, so we've got that in there. Once everyone's has their lime juice in there, give me another thumbs up. Kristen, I see you juicing that lime. You're doing a great job. All right, I'm going to give everyone another couple seconds just to get everything out of the limes. So this next ingredient, I also kind of half measure or eyeball a little bit, and then I go based on taste. So you could either do, it says a tablespoon, so we can eyeball for that, or just measure a tablespoon. And you could use honey, or I personally love to use hot honey for this if you do like a little bit of spice, because it just adds a little bit of something and it's not super, super spicy. So I'm just going to squeeze a little bit into my measuring cup here.
We're gonna need hot honey, right? If we want to, right?
Yeah, or you could do regular honey, whichever one you have or want to use. And after you add your honey or hot honey, you're just going to do some salt and pepper to taste. That's something that is usually, except for baking, salt is always measured for baking, and that's when it's very important. So always measure your salt when baking. But in terms of cooking, salt and pepper is usually very much a taste thing. So you add everything in there and kind of whisk it together. And after we whisk it, that's when we will taste and adjust.
Was that a tablespoon or teaspoon of honey?
Tablespoon. When you taste, you can just get a little spoon, dip it in there. And give it a taste. I need a little more salt and a little more pepper, and then I should be okay. So for the dressing, we just did a 4th cup of olive oil. We started with the juice of 1 lime. You might need 2. Again, that's going to be based on what your taste is from when you taste it. And then we did about a tablespoon of honey or hot honey. And then this is when we're mixing it now and we're going to taste and see what we think. Oh, and salt and pepper, sorry, but that was to taste. There was no measurements for that. That's perfect. Oh, actually, I'm going to add a tiny little dash of more honey. And all of the measurements are also in the written recipe that we had emailed out too. But for the dressing, they don't have to be exact. To be based on what you think tastes best for you. So once you have your dressing all mixed together, you'll see it'll be like a nice combined mixture now. We'll just set that off to the side for a second. If you need to add more of anything, please do. Once you do that, taste again, see if it's better. So once your dressing is all ready to go, just give me another thumbs up. We are almost there. All right. How's everyone doing? Does anyone need any more time?
Yes.
No, don't say it. I don't know. We don't have no salt.
And as we're waiting to finish up, just make you keep your station clean. You can put anything dirty in this sink so you can wash it after. Any leftover ingredients can go back in the refrigerator. Okay, is everyone all good? Nice. We just have 1 step left. So we had those beans drying. We're gonna add those in first. I'm gonna start with that much. Let's see how it looks. I have a little bit left, nothing too much. So after you put the beans in, we're gonna pour our dressing over. I'm also gonna leave a little bit of dressing left in the measuring cup because I just want to make sure that there's not too much. So I'm gonna do that much for now. And then I'm just gonna get a spatula. We're just gonna mix everything together to combine it. Some of my avocado is sticking together, so I'm just kind of using my spatula to separate it too as I mix. And I can tell I can add the rest of my beans in. There's not that much left, so it's not going to make a crazy difference. So I'm just going to add those in. So those are all finished. Looks like it's dressed pretty well. So I don't think I'm gonna need any more dressing, but I'm gonna keep it in my fridge in case. But I think the one avocado was enough. It looks like there's a good amount of corn and a good amount of the cotija cheese. So once you have it all mixed up, go feel free. Give it a taste. Perfect. So, as we are finishing everything up today, does anyone have any questions about the recipe? Or about any of the steps that we did? Or anything about the eyeball measuring during class? All right. Well, then before we sign off, like I mentioned, I would love to take my usual picture with you guys. So if you want to be in the photo. Just have your bowl ready. I'll give everyone another minute just to get all set. All right. Let me get myself ready first. Okay, everyone get ready with your bowls. I'll give us a countdown. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1, smile. Perfect. All right, and then for anyone who wasn't here in the beginning, I did mention our next class was moved. It is not July 20th anymore, it is July 27th. So we're going to be cooking at 11 a.m. on Sunday, July 27th. Missy did send out an email, I think, with just that updated schedule change. Everything's on the Eventbrite. I'll send an email tomorrow too with the recording link and the recipe. So if you sign up, well, I see it says you're away. If you
Right,
sign
I'll be on
up,
vacation then.
you'll still get the recording sent to your email.
Okay, sounds good.
So that way you could follow it at whatever time you want. But if there's no other questions for the rest of today, enjoy your Cowboy Caviar. I hope everyone has a great Sunday. It's beautiful where I am, so hopefully everyone has some nice weather. I'll see you guys next month.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody. I'll see you later. Bye, Emily. I'll take care. I'll see you later. Bye, Sophia. Thank you.
Bye.